Welcome to part 2 of our Canvas Basics workshop. In this video, we are going to be talking about what you can do inside a Canvas course, including creating a module, creating a page, an assignment, a quiz, and a discussion, and a few other elements. In part 1, we went over the Canvas dashboard and we went over the Canvas global navigation and course navigation. And in this episode, we're going to be getting a little more granular. So when I get to my Canvas course, I've landed on the home page. And the home page for me is an actual page, and you can see that there's a page and there's an announcement at the top. I did go over how to set this up in Canvas Basics 1, but I'll quickly show you here. If I can have my page be my syllabus over here on the left, I can have my page be my modules, I can have it be a home page, and a few other options. To choose your home page, I go to the right and I click on Choose Home Page. And you can see I've got pages, front page chosen, but here I could choose modules, I could choose syllabus, I could choose the assignments list if I wish, or a course activity stream. And that is completely up to you. I am going to keep my front page, but what if I wanted to edit a page? So I'm going to create a page in modules, but right here I'm going to show you quickly how to edit a page. So if I click on edit, I've already got content here. I've got a picture, I've got some text, and I've got other things on this page. I want, first of all, to have the text after the colon be on its own line. So I'm just going to hit enter, and now it's on 2 lines. And I'm also going to change out this image. To do that, I click once on the image to highlight it. And then I go up here to images, and I click on the little down arrow caret and choose upload image. And then I'm going to go find the image that I want, and I know that it's in downloads. I'm going to choose it, click open, and then it uploads, and once I click submit, it will upload onto the page. And you can see that it uploaded below my other image, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that image. But this image is awfully huge. If I clicked save, it takes up a lot of real estate. So if I click edit again, click image options. I'm going to change this to 2 kids looking at a computer, because that's the alt text. And alt text helps with accessibility. If you change your alt text to a descriptive phrase, then people who are visually impaired can hover over the image and that phrase will be read out to them. So it's really important to make your alt text descriptive and reflective of the image. You can also just choose decorative image, and then the image won't appear in screen readers at all. Now the size is pretty high. I can manually change the size of the image, but I'm going to go ahead here to where it says size, and I'll choose medium. And it says 320 by 238. If I choose large, 400 by 298. These will always be different depending on the image, but I'll try large. And I think I can live with that. So I'll click save. And now I've got a new image, and I've edited the headline. I will get into specifics in just a moment, but I wanted to show you that quickly. I can edit it right from here at the top right, or I can go over to pages, click on pages in the course navigation on the left. Now, when you do that, if you do have a home page, when you click on pages, it shows you your home page again. So to see all my pages, I go up to the left and click view all pages. And here are all my pages. So let's talk about all of the different content elements inside of Canvas. We have pages, and pages are basically to provide information. So you could do an overview, you can provide a home page, you can do explanations, you can use a page for any type of text that you're just offering or presenting to your class. If it's something you want them to turn in, you would use an assignment, a discussion, or a quiz. Now, of course, a quiz and a discussion are also assignments, but the way Canvas defines things, an assignment is something that a student or a group of students will submit or turn in. A discussion is an assignment in which the students talk to each other and have the ability to asynchronously post responses and thoughts, etc. And a quiz is answering questions for points. So that's how Canvas defines each of those things. And I'm going to show you each of them in this video. And let's do that by creating a module. So I'm going to go up to modules on the top left here. And now I've already got a lot of modules and a lot of empty modules here, but what I want to do is I want to create a module and put each type of content inside the module. So to go back up to the top here, and I'll show you one of my modules. If I click on the week 1 welcome, you'll see that it's already organized. And we're going to do something like this, maybe a little simpler. I have an overview, which is a page. And I know that because this little page icon appears. I have a text header, which I'll show you how to create. And then I have reading 1, which is a discussion. And I know that because of the little discussion icon with the 2 chat bubbles. This is an external link, a URL that goes to another website. An assignment looks very similar to a page, but it's got a little pencil along with the piece of paper. So this is an assignment. And finally, a quiz. Right here, this little rocket is a quiz. Now, Canvas has 2 types of quiz. They have classic quizzes and new quizzes. Classic quizzes are this icon right here. A new quiz is going to be an icon that's filled in. So a darker, still the rocket ship, but a darker icon. And here's a new quiz icon right here. So the icons help both us and the students define what type of content we're looking at before we even click into it. So I am going to create a simple version of this module and show you all of the content elements. So to do that, I go to the very top and I click on new module. And or the plus module sign, and it asks me to name my module. Now, modules are to help you organize your course in a way that makes sense to you and the students. You can organize by topic, you can organize by week, you can do whatever you want. For most of my courses, I organize by week. So every week, these are the readings, these are the videos you're watching, these are the assignments and activities you're completing. So I have my modules organized by week, and that means the students engage with 1 module per week. I do have 1 class in which I'm organizing by topic because week to week makes less sense. Instead, the students really need to dive deep into topic areas at any given point. So I've organized, I've used modules to define topic content. So you can decide how you want to do that. But for me, let's just pretend I'm doing week 7 in my module. And you can say week 7, media literacy, for example. Now I've added the module, and when you do add a module, it appears at the bottom of your modules. And here it is, week 7, media literacy. And you can see it's empty. There's nothing in here. So first I will add a page. Now to add a page, I go to the top right of the module and I click on the plus sign. And then you see that there's a drop down, and that basically says, what content type do you want to add? So I can add an assignment, a quiz, a file even. Maybe you want to add a PDF file or something like that. And there's page. I can also add a discussion, a text header, an external URL, or some sort of external tool. So I'll say page, and I'm going to create a page, and we'll call it overview. And now I have my overview page. And when I click into it to edit it, so there's no content there yet. So I go to the top right and I click edit. And this is the interface. Now I'll tell you, the interface you see here is very similar to the interfaces you're going to see in the other content types. Every content type has an area where you can type and then an area with formatting options above it. And it's called in Canvas the Rich Content Editor, or RCE. I'm going to walk through this briefly. If you want to know more about the Rich Content Editor, you can take a workshop with us about it specifically. What's going to change with the content types are the functionality below the Rich Content Editor, which I'll get to in a moment. So the Rich Content Editor, we have a lot of things here, and all of these visual icons are also represented in this menu that you can find them all here. For example, I want to choose my font size and I want to choose my style. If I go to Format, I can go to Formats Headings and look, I can get all the headings here. I can go to Font Sizes and find the sizes here as well. So everything is inside the menu. We can also bold, italicize, underline, just like you can do in Word. I can change the color of the text, and I can highlight text. Just a key, there are 2 reds here. Now you always want to choose colors for accessibility, and we do have accessibility workshops, but just a trick, choose the darker red. The darker red in this palette is accessible. The lighter red is not. So if you're going to use red, choose the darker red. I can subscript and superscript. So I can do all of these formatting things and even more inside the menu. So let's try that. Let me type some text. So you can see I created a little introduction. Welcome to the course. This week we'll focus on media literacy. And then I'll put a list of what I want them to do. So this is all well and good, but it looks a little similar and I want to format it a bit. So with these tools I have here, I'll format. Introduction, I'll make that a header 2. And then this to-do list, I'll make that a header 3. And this list here of what I want them to do, I can either make that an unordered or an ordered list. Oh, and by the way, if you don't see something here, there's a 3-dot menu at the end. If I click on that, anything that's hidden is going to be inside the 3-dot menu. And what you can see is really going to be a factor of how big your screen is. So maybe there's only a couple things I can't see. Maybe there's a whole lot of things I can't see. But that 3-dot menu is going to reveal it all. So for this list, I am going to go ahead and choose an unordered list. And there they are. Or I could choose an ordered list and I could say, I want you to do these in this order, first, second, third. There we go. And if I wanted to get a little bit of breathing room between these two elements, I could hit enter here and I can insert a horizontal line, which I think is great for visual organization. So to do that, go to insert horizontal line, insert horizontal line. And when I click on that, I get this nice unobtrusive line and I've got these two sections. So I'm happy so far, but what if I want to do even more? What if I want to link to the readings? Let's say there's another page of readings. Well, I can choose to hyperlink. So this panel here, you can see these first two panels and there are little lines separating them out, are really all about formatting and styling, right? And these next two panels are all about inserting media content. And if I go underneath the 3-dot menu, there's more formatting here. I can go left, right, center. I showed you the ordered and unordered list. I can indent and get rid of indent. I can clear formatting. I can create a table and I can do some other things as well. So you have a lot of formatting options. But let's talk about these two here. I'll start with the first 5. This is to insert a hyperlink, either an external hyperlink or a hyperlink from within the course. So I could hyperlink to an assignment. I could hyperlink to another page, etc. I can insert images here. I'm going to skip the next one. I can insert files here. I can upload a PDF or something else. Here, I can create and save icons if you want to put icons in your course. And then that middle one is where you can add video and audio or record video and audio. So if I wanted to insert a hyperlink, maybe to a readings page, I would go ahead and click on the little down arrow caret and I would choose a course link. An external link is going to be something outside of Canvas. A course link will be something inside. And as soon as I do that, I get this flyout menu. And let's pretend I'm going to link to another page. For example, I am going to link to book notes. So I click on that. And when I click, I don't know if you saw, but it turned yellow. So let me remove that link and do it again. I highlighted where I wanted it to hyperlink to. And then I click on book notes and watch what happens when I click. The word readings flashes yellow. Boom. Now I know that the hyperlink is done. And if I do click over here, I see, look, it's turned blue and it's underlined. The hyperlink is there. So I'm very pleased. I can close my flyout menu. If I want to add an image, maybe underneath the to-do items, I can click upload image. And I'm going to go ahead and upload via computer, but you can grab a URL as well. And a URL would basically be something ending in .jpeg or .png. I will upload from my computer. And I'm going to click on upload image. And let's say I would like to upload this image of books with headphones. So I click on it once. I click open. It shows me, is this what you'd like to upload? Yes. I'll click submit. And you'll have this gray box until it loads. So don't panic. It will eventually show up. And here we go. There's my image. And there it is. It's a little large. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the image once until this little menu pops up, says image options. Now, when I click on image options, I'm going to need to change up my alt text because I want it to be a description that reflects the image. I do that because for visually impaired people, they hover over an image and the alt text reads out to them. And I don't want them to hear pexels, sta, snop. I want them to hear headphones and books, or books covered with headphones, something like that. Or I could just say it's a decorative image and then the screen reader for a visually impaired person wouldn't read at all. I can change the size here by choosing a built-in size, or I can change it myself with these two fields. And I'm going to go ahead and choose large. That seems about right. And I'll click done. And there's my image. So now I've got an image in here and I'm very happy. What if I want students to watch a video in this class, and I want that actually to be above the image? I'll go back to just above the image. I'll hit enter, and then I'm going to put a video there. So same thing, I can go and I can upload a video here. Or what if it's a YouTube video that I want them to look at, or something from Vimeo, or something else from the internet? Well, I can do that over here in these next three. So you'll notice that I have two icons already out here, and you may or may not have these, but once you choose them from this outlet plug item, you may see them here. So that's the 3C Media icon. If I have content at 3C Media, I can upload it directly into here. And this is the Canvas Studio icon. And if I have content in Canvas Studio, I can go ahead and click that and get to and access that content. But if I want to do YouTube, I'll click on that little plug and I'll click View All. And look, here's my 3C Media. In case I don't see it in my panel, I can find it here in Canvas Studio, Canvas Commons, Dropbox. There's all kinds, Google Drive. There are all kinds of options here, but I don't see YouTube. YouTube is under Public Resources. So I'll click on Public Resources. I'll click YouTube, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a URL there. So let's go find a URL on YouTube. And I happen to know that these crash course videos are fantastic. So, and I grab the URL from the top here. So I highlight that, Command C, go back to Canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that URL in here and hit enter. And it should come up. There it is, Introduction to Media Literacy. Or I could just type Media Literacy and see what I get. Either way, I like to have the URL. And then I'll click Embed. And boom, big yellow flash. My video is going to be embedded right there, Intro to Media Literacy, and it's working, so I'm very happy. So already we've formatted our text, and we've gone here and we've used some of these formatting tools, and I have added media content using these icons here. So there's a lot more to the rich content editor, but those are the basics. And again, you can insert a table. There are other tools here and formatting options. Let me just quickly talk about the lower right. If I want more room, I can grab those 8 dots, which are a handle, and I can sort of go taller or shorter depending on what's helpful to me. If I really want to see full screen, I can go and take this stretchy arrow and, oh, now I'm in full screen and I have a lot of room to work. That's fantastic. Now, at first I'm like, oh no, how do I get out of this? Well, if I go down to the bottom right, I can click on the 2 arrows that are pointing at each other, or I can just hit the escape key and get out of it. Boom. Now we're back in this place. If I know HTML, I can click on the code editor and I can edit the code. And it also gives me a word count. It tells me how many accessibility issues I have. For example, if I click on the accessibility checker, it's saying, oh, I need to change the alt text for this image. And I'll say books with headphones. I'll click apply, and then it says you have no accessibility issues. Yay me, very happy. Now, once I've edited and formatted and added my content, there's not a whole lot to do. If I want other people to edit the page, I don't usually ever touch that. If you want to publish it on a specific day, you can do that. You can add a student to do. So for example, if I want students to bring something to class, I can click on this and say that this needs to be done by a certain date, and then this will appear in a student's to-do list. So that's really helpful. Even though it's a page and not an assignment, I can still add a student to do. And then I can just save it if I plan to work on it again later, or if I think it's all done, I can go ahead and publish it. So I have published it here, and that big green button at the top right tells me it is published. I can always unpublish it if I want. I'll keep it published for now. And then when I go back to modules, you see my overview is here and it is published. Now, let me tell you something really quickly. Even though this page is published, because the module is not yet published, students won't be able to see it. They will not be able to see anything inside the module until the module is published. To publish the module, I would just click on this little no sign and it would get a green check, and therefore it is published. All right, let me show you a few other content elements. So if I click the plus sign, and this time we'll create an assignment, or I will just choose an assignment that I already have. So I will choose this test assignment here. I'm going to indent it one level so you can see what that looks like. And I click add item. And you can see that, look at that, the assignment is indented from overview. And if I want to edit it, I click on it and I can click edit. And you would do the same thing. You would add your text and other content here in the rich content editor. Now, this looks very similar to a page, right? In fact, it's no different at all. But what happens when I scroll underneath the rich content editor? Well, now we see that there is a lot of difference. All of this new functionality that we didn't see in a page. Because this is an assignment, we're being asked how many points we want to assign to it. Is there an assignment group you want to put it in? An assignment group is basically over here in the course menu. All the assignments live under assignments. So I will show you in a few minutes that you can actually organize assignments by assignment group inside here. All the quizzes will live in quizzes. All the discussions will live in discussions. In fact, that is where you would delete things that you don't want anymore. If you remove something from modules, you're only removing it. You are not deleting it. For example, if I go back to modules and I click test assignment and I go to the right and I click my 3-dot menu, I have some options. I could move it. I can edit the title. I can increase and decrease the indent. I can even duplicate this assignment. So if I write something like an overview that I really like and I don't want to have to redo the template again, I can just duplicate it and make little changes and put the duplication in the next module. And you see, this doesn't say delete. It says remove. All it's saying is remove it from the module. It will still live wherever it, whatever it is. So if it's an assignment, it will live in assignments. If it's a quiz, it will live in quizzes, etc. To delete it, I would need to go to assignments, which I'll do right now. I would need to find it and then delete it. And now if I click on the menu over here, look, that says delete. So that means I'm getting rid of it for good. I also want you to notice that I have assignment groups here. I have a discussions group. I have an articles group. I have an assignments group. Two assignment groups. And this assignment, I don't need this one, so I'm going to delete it. So I click the right and I click delete. And for real, it's going to be gone. I have tests and portfolio site, Canvas surveys. Let's delete that too. I like to keep a clean area. In-class work, etc., etc. So you can see, and if I've been importing a lot of stuff, which I have all these assignment groups. And you can change the name of these. So, for example, if I have a series of discussions, then I put them all in my discussions assignment group. If I need a new assignment group, for example, surveys, I would hit the plus group and it would ask me my group name. And then just like a module, it would appear at the bottom of the assignments area. So you can organize assignment groups just like you can organize modules. But going back to modules, I have an overview and I have a test assignment. I'm going to continue to talk about the test assignment. So you've got your rich content editor, but then you've got all the assignment functionality. You assign it to points. You assign the assignment group. You say how you want to display the grade. You can display the points, or you could do a letter grade or a percentage or just complete, incomplete. It's up to you how you want to display it. Or maybe this assignment is not graded and you can choose that as well. You can also say, don't count this assignment toward the final grade, and it will not. Submission type. If you choose online, that means students will submit something to you online. Maybe they submit a website URL like a Google Doc or something like that. Maybe they submit a file upload like a Word doc or a PDF or something like that. They could submit a text entry, meaning they can copy and paste their assignment into their own rich content editor on Canvas, and then you would see the content. They could submit a media recording, annotation, etc. So you could decide how you want students to submit and not submit their assignments. You can give them unlimited attempts. I usually do, because if they submit something and then forgot, I don't mind that they resubmit. That's not going to affect me in any way, as long as they get it all done before the due date. You can even say this is a group assignment. Now, if I choose this, I would need to put students into groups, which I will show you how to do in a moment. And then only one person would need to submit the assignment for the whole group, and it would appear as submitted by the group. Now, there are also group discussions, which are different, and I'll talk about that when we get to discussions. If I choose group assignment, I can give them all the same grade, or I can choose to assign grades to each student individually, and that's up to you as well. You can require peer reviews, which is a great way to get students to look at each other's work. If you want to know more about that, please go to a DE specialist or go to a workshop on this topic. And then you can see that it's assigned to everyone. And that's what you want. You want it assigned to everyone. Every once in a while, you might have a student who has a crisis or an illness, and they might need an extension. So if I were to do that, I would not ever delete everyone. You always keep everyone, but I would click add, and then I would choose my student from this dropdown if this class had students. And then it would say that student's name, and this would turn into everyone else. But the one thing you don't want to do is delete everyone and assign the student from that very first box. Because if you do that, all of a sudden the other students won't be able to see the assignment anymore. They won't have access to their grade. They won't have access to the assignment. It will just disappear for them. And that can cause some headaches and some stress. So if you want to know more about that, talk to someone at Distance Ed, but remember to keep everyone. And if you do need to give someone an extension, we can go through that with you. You'll choose your due date and your due time. And that's just when the student has to submit it. The assignment will still remain open unless you choose to close it. So you can see I have an available from and available until field. You can keep these blank, or maybe I want to restrict when students can access it. So they could only access it from, Tuesday to Saturday. In that case, I would choose Tuesday the 21st, and then I would close it on Saturday the 25th. And in that case, the students would only be able to access it from here. And once it's closed, they do not have access to it anymore. So you can make the choice about whether you want to do that or not. And then you would save your assignment and it would appear in your modules just like this. So that's assignments. Let me show you a discussion. So I'm going to hit the plus key here on the modules, and I'm going to choose discussion from the dropdown. And you can create your own topic, or I can choose, let's do a discussion on the media's role as the fourth estate. And I add that, and there's that discussion right there. Now also, if I look in the discussions area of Canvas, you'll see that it's set up a little bit differently, but there are discussions that you can pin, meaning they're always at the top of your discussions page, and then other discussions. And you may not have this much content. Again, I've imported a lot of stuff in here and have not organized it. This little blue dot means there are entries to be read, and if the blue dot is not filled in, it means that all the entries have been read. So that just gives you an indicator, I better get in there and read my student responses. And you cannot organize discussions. You can try, but you see how it's difficult to move. I can't move these unless I pin them. And you can see I pinned that one, and now I can pull it back down. But back to this area, I'm going to go ahead and edit this discussion so you can see how it looks similar and different to an assignment or a page. So here's the discussion. And take a look at this. I have got groups here, which I'm going to show you. Again, I mentioned group assignments. Now for a group assignment, again, it's a group submitting one item for the group. When you do groups with discussions, you actually split the students up into groups, and then they talk to each other inside their own little discussion space. So that means that instead of 30 or 40 students talking to each other, it's 5 to 7 students talking to each other. And you can organize them in whatever way you want. I've got these organized by beats in a journalism class or a media literacy class. And I want them to think about this question together as a small group. So in a group discussion, everybody has to individually participate, but they only see a small group. The difference with a group assignment is that they are all working together on something, and then one person submits. So just a nuance to understand. When it comes to grading, you can grade in the SpeedGrader, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Or I can go into each of these individually, and I would just see the responses from that particular group. Let me show you what it looks like to create and edit a discussion. So I'll go to the top right and click Edit. And again, this looks very familiar. Yes, this is the rich content editor that you saw with pages, and you saw it in assignments. The difference comes when you get below there and you see the functionality. So in a discussion, it's going to ask me discussion related function questions. So for example, do I want to allow threaded replies, which means that any reply to a specific post will stay in sort of a thread? And yes, I definitely want that. I want discussions that students have with each other to sort of stay in one grouping, and then maybe a discussion on a different response or post will be in a different sort of grouping. So I want that. I also like to check that users must post before seeing replies. So that's this second one here. And I do that because I want users to have their own original thought. I don't necessarily want them to look at what everyone else said and then put their own thing together. So I do have them post before they see replies. That depends on the type of discussion. If it's just a low stakes one, I may not do that. I'm, of course, grading this discussion, and I do like to check allow liking because this is a behavior people are used to from social media. So if they feel the desire to like, they can do that. And again, I've got it as a group discussion, and I've set the group to beats, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Points possible, I've defined that. I'm displaying the greatest points. The assignment group is discussions. I've never required a peer review on a discussion. I'm not sure even what that looks like, so I'll just have you skip it. And then, of course, we saw this assign to box, and you're familiar with that at this point. So then I would click save, and I would come back, and my discussion would be here. Now, finally, I want to show you quizzes. So if I do a new quiz, and I'm going to go ahead and do a classic quiz at this point. And I'll go ahead and choose a quiz that already exists and click add item. Here's this quiz, and it's a classic quiz. So here's that rich content editor. You're totally familiar with that, but there is one difference. There are two tabs up here. There's a details tab and the questions tab. So, all right, let's stay on details for a minute. I've got my rich content editor. I go down to my functionality, which again is quiz function. Is it a graded quiz? Is it a practice quiz? Or is it some type of survey? So you can choose those. You can choose assignment group. You can shuffle the answers if you want. You can give a time limit if you want. You can allow multiple attempts, and then you can choose, do I keep the highest score, the latest score, an average score? Do I want to have them only be able to take it twice or 3 times? So you have some options there. And then you can let students see their responses if you want. And you can let students see the correct answers if you want, and you can show that. You can also show one question at a time. I actually don't recommend doing this because for students who have an accessibility need, it can be difficult to only see one question at a time. That can add a burden to a student's cognitive load as they're trying to take a quiz. So I have all the questions appear at once, and that way the student can engage with them as they see fit. You can require an access code if you like. And again, there's the assign to. So that's great. And that's one page of the quiz. But remember, we had 2 tabs. So up here at the top, if I click on the questions tab, now I can create my questions. And in classic quizzes, this is a question, or I'd click new question, or I could create a question group. Like all these questions are on this topic. All these questions are on that topic. You may also have imported questions into a question bank. And so then I would click find questions and draw them from there. Now we have a quizzes workshop that will get you much more deeply into this, but I just want you to see it. If I do create a new question, briefly, I'll show you. You can choose all of these types, multiple choice, true, false, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would create the question here and the answers down here. And depending on what type of question I choose, that's going to look different. But again, we have a workshop on this that will take you through this much more specifically. And when I get back to my module, I have all of this. Now, what if I want to organize this a little bit? I'm going to create a text header. So I'm going to go new, text header, and I'll type this, and I'm not going to indent it. And then I click add item. Now to move anything around, I will go ahead and go to the left to that 8. Remember, those 8 dots are a handle. So I can just drag that up, and maybe I'll drag it up one more right there. And maybe I want the discussion to be first, and the quiz to be second, and the assignment to be last. So I've put this exercises in, and when it comes in, it's not published. So I'm going to need to publish it. And now I've got a little bit of organization here. And you can see when I go up to this top module, I've got all kinds of text headers that organize the content differently for me. So that's why I like to use text headers. But this is how to create a module and to create and add elements to it. That's going over the Canvas content types and creating a module. Now, there were a few more things I wanted to show you. One was creating groups. So if I go to people, you always have everyone, and you're going to see that all your students are going to be listed here. If I had students in the class, they would be listed here. And I've created 2 types of groups. So if I want to create new groups, I can create plus group set. I give it a name. I can allow self sign up, or I can create the groups later, etc. I give it a name, and then it appears as a tab. So for example, my beats. Now we saw these in the discussion, right? Crime, education, social justice, and sports. If I had students enrolled, they would all be listed here. And what I would do is drag them into their beat area until I had nobody left and everybody was in a beat. And then they would have their groups assigned to them. So I'd go to people. I'd do new group set. I'd create groups by clicking new group and then drag the students in. And that's how you create groups of students. And then you can assign group assignments and group discussions and things like that. There are some other things you can do in Canvas. For example, there is a syllabus page. Now, this looks like a page. It's actually its own area. It's called the syllabus, and it's not in your pages area. It's its own thing. And this is where you can put your syllabus if you like. So I've got my syllabus here, and you can make this your homepage if you like. Again, if I go to home and I go to choose homepage, I could choose syllabus. And now look, the syllabus is my homepage. If I click on home, it's still the syllabus. I'm going to go ahead and take it back to the front page. And now it says, how does it know what front page it is? So let me click save and show you. And I can click change. What if I wanted a different type of home page? So here are all my pages. Now the page that's the front page is going to be designated front page. So there it is, front page, front page. And if I want to change that to maybe this page right underneath it, I come all the way to the right and look, use as front page. Now, if I click that, it changed, the front page changed. And if I go back to this one and click use as front page, in addition, you can create announcements for your students. Now you can communicate with your students via the Canvas inbox or Canvas conversations area, which I cover in the first video. Or you can create an announcement, which will live here. And you can also put on your front page. So I could go plus announcement, do your reading, or new module, or whatever I like. And again, rich content editor, it's always the same for content. And then there are some functionality, post to all sections, or if I only want to post to one section of a class that I'm doing, I can choose that as well. I can add file attachments if I want. I can delay the posting. What if I don't want this to post until 2 days from now? Well, I can do that. I can choose a day and a time for it to post. I can allow users to comment, and I can allow liking. So then I would publish it, and it would appear here in assignments, and the students would also get a notification that they have an announcement. If you noticed earlier on my homepage, I have an announcement appearing on the homepage, and that's by design. If you want to have announcements appear here, you can have no announcements appear, or you can have as many announcements as you like. So you go down to in the course menu, down to settings on the bottom left. And then in this very hidden area, scroll down, look for more options. And I've got checked show recent announcements on course homepage, and I've got 1, but I could have, let's say 3, or I could uncheck it and have none, but let's just say 3. If I click update course details and go back to my homepage, now I've got 3 announcements appearing here. So you can decide what you'd like to do. Again, settings, course details tab, down to the bottom, more options, show recent announcements, and then make your choice. The other thing on settings that might interest you, and I did cover this in the first video, but it's worth covering again. You'll see over here in the course navigation, I've got these in this order, and then there are a bunch with sort of little eyeballs, meaning they're not visible to students. And the reason they're not visible is that they are below the fold here. So something is invisible if there is no content in it, or if it's below the fold. So I have home, syllabus, modules, announcements. But what if I want to put announcements up higher, like above syllabus? Now, once I click save, you'll see that this will jump up here. So I'm going to go down and click save. Now watch. Now announcements is second and syllabus is third. So that's under navigation, and you can organize as you see fit. Now there's a lot here, and we offer some specialized workshops on a lot of it, but the last thing I'll show you today is grades and the SpeedGrader. The grades area is where you're going to find all your assignments and all your list of students. And you can see that there's a lot of stuff here, and some of it's red, some of it's maybe late, or some of it's white. And sometimes you're going to see unpublished stuff, which I don't like to see. So let me show you a little bit of functionality. If I hit view, I can, if unpublished assignments is checked, then I'm going to see everything, even stuff that's unpublished. And I don't want to see that. So I click view, I uncheck that, and now all the unpublished assignments go away. There's also this little notes tab here, and that is also by design. I can click view, and if it's checked, notes will appear, and if it's not checked, notes won't appear. I like to have notes so I can say, likes dogs. And that will maybe give me a reminder of things as I go. This is only visible to you. Students cannot see it, but do be mindful that sometimes someone might be looking over your shoulder, etc. You don't want anybody to see a student's grades or anything like that, but just be mindful and cautious as you use this feature. You can also arrange, I like to arrange by due date, oldest to newest, but you can arrange by module, etc., etc. You can filter and just look at modules, just look at different things. Under actions, you can import, you can export the current gradebook view or the entire gradebook. We have a workshop on the gradebook, so I just wanted to show you a few things. There's also this settings tab, and you can set automatic grades, automatically applying 0 for late submissions, etc. Which again, we go over in another workshop. And there is a menu inside each assignment as well. If I hover over an assignment, I get the 3 dots. And then I can sort, I can go to the SpeedGrader, I can message students who, which is the most awesome feature. It basically, you can message students who have not submitted yet, message students who received a 0, message students who got an A. You can do whatever you like and give them their own customized message. You can curve grades here, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good thing to get to know the SpeedGrader a little bit better, but this is where where grades will appear and you can do some grading. And let me go to the SpeedGrader here. I only have the test student to work with, but I'll walk you through the interface briefly. If there's a submission, it's going to appear here in this big white area along the left in the center. On the right, I have the student's name, and I can toggle between students by clicking the left and right arrows, or the drop-down is going to give me a list of my students. I can add the grade here. If I had a rubric, there would be a button here showing me the rubric. I can make comments. I can even make audio or video comments or attach, so that's really helpful. But this is where I would assign the grade, etc. And it tells me how many have been graded, how many are submitted, what I'm on. If I want to get to the assignment, sort of refer to it, I can click here and it will open up the assignment itself for me. And then along the left top, I have 3 options. There's a settings option. This little eyeball means you can hide all the grades until you're done grading or until you're ready for the students to see them. So that might be helpful. Just remember to uncheck it when you're done. Or if I want to get back to the gradebook, I can click the gradebook icon at the top left and it takes me back to the gradebook area. So again, we have a workshop on all of this. This is just a quick overview to show you that it's there. If I really want to see that course menu, you see the course menu has disappeared. I can go up here, click the 3 lines, and boom, there's my course menu. So we've gone over the home page, announcements, the syllabus, modules, grades, and we've gone over people. You also have Zoom built right into Canvas. Canvas Studio is the video editing app. We have workshops on that. If you want to keep attendance in Canvas, you can do that. You can get accessibility reports. And now I personally have my assignments, quizzes, discussions, pages, files all hidden from students because I really want them to engage with everything via modules. But you may make different choices. You may want these visible so students can directly engage with them. And that is your choice. But that is part 2 of Canvas Basics. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the Distance Ed team.